Welcome back. We are talking to somebody. I don't remember who. It's April 2nd. 3:11. Weird time, but okay. Miss Bound, are you feeling a little calmer now? Yes. Good. Then allow me to get to the point. Regardless of your intentions, you broke the law. Yes, I understand. Right, I remember now. Last time, I don't think... Yeah, no, she didn't kill the dude back in the past. But she set up the crime in the present to try to catch the guy who killed someone in the past. Nevertheless, I understand that you did what you did in order to prove Mr. Tangora's innocence. Therefore, if the real culprit really is someone else, then we have a duty to reinvestigate the case. Overruled? Yeah, because isn't murder also too late? There is nothing to suggest that anything nefarious took place in the official I-7's... And right now, there is nothing to suggest that we should take Miss Bound at her word either. So our first order of business should be to arrest the culprit of the case before us, Miss Bound herself. Official records cannot always be trusted, Judge Gavell, especially since there are those prosecutors who would think nothing of twisting the facts. Are you suggesting that the committee at the time overlooked just such a prosecutor? That's for you and your people to figure out. However, it is a fact that the autopsy report was faked. Seeing as Mr. Frost's body was only found just now. There really is something of Mr. Von Karma in you, Mr. Edgeworth. That feels more like an insult. How so exactly? By continually defying the will of the committee and bending the truth to fit your needs. How's that bending the truth? The body literally just showed up. Perhaps it is time you understand how the committee sees this case. The committee's views. The committee is willing to accept that Mr. Von Karma falsified Mr. Frost's autopsy report. Even still, Mr. Von Karma only managed to have Mr. Tangora convicted as an accomplice. I personally have come to believe that the real culprit behind the IS-7 incident is Miss Bound. Her plan to poison and kill Mr. Gusto today was her attempt to frame him for Mr. Frost's murder. And this is how the committee sees things, is it? It is. As always, I act solely in service of... No, you don't. You act in service of the committee. Those two things aren't always lined up. It sounds to me like all she's doing is... Yeah, look at that! Oh my god, I'm Edgeworth. Isn't he also my age? I'm old. If I can't change her mind, there will be no saving Mr. Tangora or Miss Bound. So the committee is willing to accept Mr. Von Karma falsified the autopsy report. Check. Even still, he only managed to have convicted as an accomplice. So yeah, that part is true, despite the fact that, like, the report we have says he was the criminal. So maybe this one...
Hold it!
I believe it was a confession that sealed Mr. Tangora's fate in the end. A confession secured by Mr. Von Karma, which should surely cast doubt on the final verdict itself. Samson Tagora confessed to the initial investigation officer, one detective, Ian Seidman. The official records state that it was his interrogations that led to the conviction. Therefore, all I can say to you is that the Goddess of Justice has already spoken. Unbelievable she just won't budge at all. Are these committee guys really that big of a deal? In many ways, they are a prosecutor's worst nightmare. So kind of like how the police are to a great thief. Funny how you don't seem to have a problem working with the police when it suits you, though. Okay, so I was hoping that doing press would, like, personally believe that it's Miss Bound. See, this doesn't make sense, though. Because, like, why would she go out of the way if, like, if she was already in the clear?
Hold it!
Why would Miss Bound have chosen to frame Mr. Guster for the murder? No doubt because he suspected her of being the real culprit. He may have entered what he thought was the Winter Wing simply to see if the Gemini statue was genuine. Little did he know that he would be greeted by a trap designed to silence him, A trap that nearly worked.
Objection!
Do you have any evidence to support that line of reasoning? Unfortunately, Mr. Gusto remains in critical condition. It will be difficult to prove anything until he regains consciousness. In other words, there is little we can do for now. On the contrary, there is plenty we can do. You still have not grasped the situation, have you? Then allow me to spell it out for you. We have all the evidence we need to explain both the IS-7 incident and the poison gas attack. That does not feel true. No detailed officer report due to letting missing. Statute of limitation expired 3 years ago. See, the one thing I hate most about, like, Gavel and Winter, and, like, they speak so, like, matter-of-fact, despite the fact that, like, just a little while ago, they were convinced it was Larry. Sugar composition matches that of sugar found in the pale blue liquid in Artie Frost's room 18 years ago. Sugar detected in fountain water also seems to be a match. Yeah, this.
Objection!
He's doing the smug face. I'm afraid there is still one question concerning the IS-7 that remains unanswered, Your Honor. Would you mind taking a look at this? What is it? They're test results carried out on the liquid at the bottom of the Gemini case in the Winter Wing. As you can see, traces of blood were detected. The question is, whose? Until that question is answered, I hardly think you can claim to have all the evidence. There was blood in the Gemini case? Why did I not hear about this from Eustace? Because Eustace is a moron. Because Detective Gumshoe informed me of the results directly. I was planning to tell Mr. Winter about it myself, of course. You kept this to yourself until now? You do that all the time. Despite having no jurisdiction over here whatsoever. Mark my words, the committee will hear all about that empty threats. As ever, my interest is in the truth, and if mistakes were made in the past, they must be rectified. If you must report me to the committee, then so be it. But in return, we must be allowed to investigate this case to the very end. That is not my decision to make. You will need to discuss it with Eustace. Guess who's back, losers, and with good news, too. It was a close call for a minute there, but Carmelo Gusto is alive. Gusto? He made it. You're the ones who found me? Yep. Long time no see, Gusto. You're the attorney's assistant. You've grown, and you have an assistant of your own now. Assistant? No, I'm... He hasn't got the gig just yet. This is Gregory Edgeworth's son. Prosecutor Miles Edgeworth. At your service. Fate moves in mysterious ways. I'm in your debt. If you hadn't found me in time, I wouldn't be here to thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. After all, if you hadn't lived, we wouldn't be able to ask you what really happened 18 years ago. What are you talking about? We figured out quite a bit while you were out cold, including the fact that you're probably the guy who offed poor Artie Frost. What? Is that true? Ms. Bounds set up a very elaborate trap to catch Mr. Frost's murderer. A trap that involved rigging the Pisces case with poison gas. Perhaps in light of that fact, you could tell us in your own words what happened back then. Or perhaps you'd rather exercise your right to remain silent. Oh, it's not that. Gusto here is a fan of the old meditation. You know, Om and all that jazz. Wow, sleeping while standing seems pretty cool. That's one heck of a talent. Except there's no sleeping involved in meditation, okay? Sorry, I wanted to double check something for. I thought I clicked stream instead of record, so I wanted to double check. What did I miss? Hey Gusto, old pal, how about you snap back out of it and tell us what went down way back when? I was caught in the girl's trap, so I must be the killer? Is this your idea of a joke? I'm the victim here. Indeed you are, Mr. Gusto, and there is no evidence that you have done anything wrong yet. Mr. Edgeworth and Mr. Fender are merely speculating. Rest assured that they have no authority here and that you may pay them no heed. At least somebody here seems to be on my side. Judge Verity Gavel, it is a pleasure, Mr. Gusto. I will assist you in any way that you may require. Perhaps you could begin by explaining what actually happened 18 years ago to Mr. Edgeworth. Fine. You want me to prove I'm innocent, Mr. Prosecutor? I'll be happy to.
Objection!
So this is how you mean to play it, Judge Gavel? You're hoping Mr. Gusto will help you to hide what happened inside instead of trying to correct the record. I believe only in the infallible judgment of the Goddess of Justice. Except it is us humans who make the actual judgment calls in a court of law. And so long as there are those who would use the law to their advantage, our rulings are fallible indeed. If you would use your position to further obscure the truth, then neither she nor I will forgive you. We shall see about that. What do you advise, Judge Gavel? It would seem that you were under suspicion because it was you who triggered the poison gas, specifically by opening the Pisces case's lid. Would you be so kind as to share why with us? Understood. I came to see Frost's sculpture, simple as that. I made a mistake with the opening times and arrived a half hour early. Ms. Baum, was there no one at the reception desk at around that time? I had left the main entrance unguarded and unlocked just in case the killer made an appearance. I was also busy making preparations elsewhere all the way up until the gallery's opening. So no, there was no one here on the first floor wing. But I did make sure that all the wings were locked up tight, all except for the autumn wing, that is. I see. She did all that just to steer the culprit into the autumn wing, which is precisely where Mr. Gusto went. Sneaking into a building's pretty suspicious, however you slice it. Silence in the courtroom. I will permit no objections or interventions unless there is some evidence that the witness is lying. The courtroom? You know this is an art gallery, right? Mr. Gusto, if you could please continue by explaining why you opened the Pisces case. I wanted to see Frost's work up close, so I went up to the guess it was supposed to be the Pisces statue, and I saw the lid was frozen on tight, so I grabbed a blowtorch from nearby and tried to open it. When I finally got it open, gas came pouring out. Fascinating. This is the sort of flawless testimony attorneys can only dream of. Yeah, the everything sounds like a lie kind. I am none too satisfied with Mr. Gusto's explanation myself. Alas, there is no evidence to refute it. Come on, there must be something. It's Bound's story you should be questioning, not mine. I'm not the one who set up the gas trap. She could have killed anybody with that thing. She turned on the sprinklers as soon as the gas was released. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was gunning for the killer and nobody else. That killer being you, old pal. So you believe that self-confessed criminal? Ms. Bound is far from blameless in this affair, and she will have to pay for her crimes. But so will Mr. Frost's killer. You seem determined to pin Frost's murder on me, but I had no reason to kill him. And you have no evidence to prove otherwise. Can we really not prove that he's the killer, Mr. Edgeworth? Mr. Gusto fell victim to the poison gas, that much is indisputable. Yet no matter how suspicious his actions in the present may seem, they prove nothing about the past. Yeah, but then what about you, Mr. Fender? There must be something we can do. You're right, we may not have evidence, but we have plenty of intel. Let's see now. If Gusto killed Frost, he must have had a reason. He claims not to have a motive, but that can't really be true, can it? If he did it, he has one. Not many people commit murder just for fun. In fact, your old man had a little back and forth with Von Karma about a probable motive too, remember? How can you possibly say that with any certainty, if their relationship had broken down for some reason? That could very well have been the motive behind this murder. Von Karma wouldn't let us talk to Gusto back then, but we can now. If we can put the pieces together, I think the picture we've been looking for might just emerge. Yes, I think you might be right. I need to think back over everything we know about the IS evidence, and especially the questions that never got answered. And the finger marks, were you the one wearing the gloves? Miss Scone denied that the finger marks on the frame were hers, but what if they were Mr. Gusto's? Perhaps he had wanted to take a look through the Ultimate Cookbook for himself? So he asked me to put in a new cartridge. He seemed to think there should have been more shots left than there were. In other words, the film ran out sooner than expected. Yes, the number of shots he took didn't... Oh, did he take pictures of the cookbook? But he thought maybe he just lost track somewhere along the way. My father noticed these things for a reason. I just need to piece them together correctly. In the absence of evidence, it's the only way to the truth. Murder motive, cooperation ended, remaining exposure, wanted the cookbook. I mean, I think it's motive and the cooperation ended. Mr. Gusto, you and Mr. Frost conspired to create works for the contest together, did you not? Huh, so you knew my little secret. Mr. Fender was kind enough to inform me. Mr. Frost was in charge of the designs, while you were in charge of the flavor, is that correct? What can I say? I still had a long way to travel on the road to becoming a master confectioner. But you only collaborated up through the semifinals. Something changed after that. We both wanted to show what we could do, show that we were better than Tangela. Then why did you help Mr. Frost with his entry for the final? What grounds do you have to say that? Your own statement, made to Mr. Von Karma 18 years ago. You told him that you had been working together right up until the day before the final. Mr. Frost's entry was carved entirely from blocks of flavored ice which would have needed at least a day to freeze, and whose flavors would therefore have already been prepared by Mr. Gusto. Yes, which lines up perfectly with what Gusto told me, that he helped Frost until the day before the final. In that case, why did Mr. Frost reciprocate and help Mr. Gusto in return? I can hardly be expected to read the minds of the dead. So why didn't Mr. Frost help you in return? I submit that your relationship broke down for some reason, and that became the basis of your motive for murder. That's not how it was. Sure, we stopped working together, but it was all perfectly friendly. You stopped working together in a friendly way? Kinda hard to imagine, but okay. Besides, how do you think I did it exactly? You think I just strolled into Tangora's room and killed Frost? I couldn't have killed the man while Tangora was in there working on his chocolate pieces, could I? So you see, it can't have been me. I wouldn't be so sure. There must be a window of time when Mr. Tangora wasn't in his room. And if I can prove that, I can prove that Mr. Gusto had the opportunity to kill Mr. Frost. Remaining exposure... and this. Photographing the cookbook's contents would be the perfect way to steal its secrets undetected. And what if Mr. Gusto did just that? What if he used Mr. Tangora's camera to photograph the book? It would be the perfect crime, so much better than stealing and getting chased by the cops. A sneaky snapshot or 20? That could work. The only question is, when would he have done it? Good question. What about during afternoon tea? Didn't Alicia say that Gusto and Frost had missed out on the little tea party? Which brings me to the next question, when do we know for certain that Mr. Frost was still alive? Then, after the contest began, nobody saw hide nor hair of Frost as he secluded himself in his room, and the only person capable of entering his locked room was Tangora, possessing, as he did, the only key. Miss Scone, were Mr. Tangora's works the only ones you sampled? No, dear, I couldn't help myself. When I'd finished my afternoon tea, I tiptoed over to Chillywink's room for a little taste too. Mr. Frost had kept to himself inside his room after the contest had started, but he was gone by the time Miss Scone snuck in to sample his work, meaning there's a good chance he was murdered before the end of afternoon tea. Well, afternoon tea, timing a murder. Those are the only two left. We can be sure that Mr. Frost was alive until the beginning of afternoon tea, making tea time the only window during which Mr. Gusto could have killed him. Are you satisfied with Mr. Gusto's story now, Mr. Edgeworth? Sadly, I'm afraid I'm still rather unsatisfied, but things are finally starting to become clear, and the soon will truth come to light. Do you mean to say that you have uncovered new evidence? Evidence? No. I was hoping I might convince Mr. Gusto to open up a bit about it instead. Oh, is it mind game time again? See, saying mind games is weird. I have a question for you. I said I have a question for you. What is it? You chose to make your entry for the final on your own. I told you I wanted to test myself. I wanted to prove I was the best in the world. If that were the case, then surely you wouldn't have chosen to cheat in the first place. So tell me, Mr. Gusto, why did you feel the need to team up with Mr. Frost? "18 years ago, Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost collaborated in the confectionery contest. But why did they work together, and why did they enter the contest in the first place? That's the information I need to get out of my opponent somehow. Mr. Gusto seems to have a habit of pretending to be asleep when things aren't going his way. Let's start by focusing on why he chose to work with Mr. Frost. By my hand, now is the time to dig up the truth that was buried all those years ago. Why did you collaborate with Mr. Frost? What inspired you to collaborate with Mr. Frost? We were acquaintances before we were contestants. He was interested in entering the contest, so we decided to sign up together. And your decision to pair up with the sculptor had nothing to do with your lack of faith in your skills? You don't know me. We joined forces because we wanted to make the most perfect creations possible, that's all. He's on edge, so let's bide my time. Frost's son and mine were in the same grade at school, so we got along pretty well too. Oh, so you were just two friends who happened to try for the title of World's Greatest Confectioner? Wake up. Pretending to be asleep when the going gets tough won't work on me, I'm afraid. Mr. Frost was a sculptor, Mr. Gusto. I doubt he cared much about winning the title of confectioner, in which case he probably had a different motive for taking part in the contest, wouldn't you say? Fine. It was me. I wanted the title. Frost was only in it for the prize, the ultimate cookbook. I see, and since your objectives dovetailed so neatly, you decided to work together. But then something happened. A breakdown in your relationship, perhaps? If so, I want to know why. Mr. Prosecutor, I'm still quite unwell after my brush with death. Push me too hard, and I'll be on my way back to the medical room. No, wait. Then you better wrap this up quickly. I'm already dangerously low on patience. Mr. Gusto is trying desperately to make his escape, but he's not going anywhere yet. Not as long as he's still keeping things from me, so let's figure out what he was really after next. There's no time to lose. I need to pick the right line of questioning and fast. Did you want more than just the title? You too had your eyes on something other than the title, didn't you? After all, I'm sure the title of World's Greatest Confectioner even counts for that much. Now you're insulting the way of the confectioner? My goal, my only goal, was to win that title. I didn't care about anything else. You have no idea how much it would have meant to me. He's on edge, so bide my time. Look, my sense of design may have not been up to snuff back then, but you should see me now. Oh, so you've improved? You bet I have. I didn't do all the training in Zhangfa for nothing. He's still on edge, so bide my time. I looked up to Tangora, you know, spent hours poring over the designs of his work. Even used to watch his show with my son. Sounds to me like Mr. Tangora's work was especially influential in your early studies. And with his recipe book, you might even become the best someday. Maybe. The book was a real treasure, no doubt about that. Any confectioner would have wanted it. Yeah, he went to sleep because he said that. So you were interested in the book too. You claim your only goal was to win the title, yet you also seem to have had an interest in the contest prize, the ultimate cookbook. The greatest collection of recipes by the world's greatest confectioner. I can't say I had absolutely no interest in it. And even if I did. What exactly is so wrong with that? Nothing, I suppose. Only that the book contained recipes for medicines, not desserts. And everyone who entered the contest supposedly knew that. I feel like I'm finally getting somewhere. I can't let him slip from my grasp now. I just need to stay calm and keep the pressure on. Next, let's find out why he wanted the cookbook. So your plan was to win the cookbook and use it to help you with your own creations? I feel like I need to do this. That way, and then pin the fact that he already knows it doesn't actually contain sweets. What else? A book like that could have improved my craft tenfold. You could have made a lot of money if you'd sold it. I don't know much about what was actually in there, but it was worth more than money, I'll tell you that. Went to sleep. You know more than you're letting on. Come now, Mr. Gusto, I think you know more about the Ultimate Cookbook than you claim. They told us a little about it at the start of the contest. And you know what kind of recipes it actually contains, don't you? And that they weren't dessert recipes at all. I see you did your homework. Fine, so you knew what was really in there. The Ultimate Cookbook, or rather, the Angel's Cookbook, to give it a proper title, it's a collection of chemical formulas and ways to synthesize new medicines nobody had ever heard of. So we did know that the cookbook actually contained recipes for medicine. This could be an important clue. Did you know what the book was really worth? Did you know how valuable the cookbook was? What kind of question is that? It was a collection of Tangora's recipes. There wasn't a confectioner in the world who wouldn't have wanted to get their hands on it. Time to deploy my clue. Except you knew that was not what's really in there. Your designs may have improved thanks to your training in Zheng Fa, but you clearly didn't do enough work on your skills of deception. You already admitted that you knew the Ultimate Cookbook was a collection of recipes for medicines, thereby making your interest not gastronomical, but pharmaceutical in nature. You needed medicine. I mean, there's nothing that says he wanted to become a pharmacist, so you needed medicine? You're a confectioner, Mr. Gusto. You had no professional interest in revolutionary new medicines, which suggests that your interest must have been personal. I underestimated you. Fine, you're right. Winning the title wasn't the only reason I entered the contest. I needed one of the recipes in that book. It was for my son. He was sick. He was? Tell me, could you just ask Tangor? That's none of your business. I've told you as much as you need to know. He looks rattled, but I can't let him off the hook. Let's find out what the mysterious illness was. I've almost gotten to the bottom of this, I can feel it. What's the name of your son's condition? Tell me more about your son. Tell me a little more about your son. He was my pride and joy, and my biggest fan. When you entered the contest in order to help him, you clearly don't have children of your own. Any father would have done the same. I would have done anything to help him. Anything. Bide my time because he's defensive. He would come see me here at the contest venue too, right up through the semifinal. Really? He didn't get in the way of your work? If you were trying to beat Samson Tangora, surely you didn't have time to look after a child. Yeah, well, I wanted to do what I could for him. He said he always wanted to be the first to try my creations. So he wasn't too sick to join you. And yet he was able to come and join you for the contest? It wasn't that kind of illness, nothing life-threatening anyway. This feels like it could be an important clue. Was the book necessary? So you needed the cookbook to cure your son. Yeah, nowadays you can get the medicine he needed anywhere, but back then that book was the only hope. Which is why I didn't dare waste my time on fancy tea parties. I had to give my all to my work. And what about Mr. Tangora's work? Surely that tea break gave you the perfect opportunity to go steal a glance at it. What makes you think I had the energy or time to care about what others had made? But you cared about Mr. Tangora's work. I think you've made it abundantly clear how much interest you had in Mr. Tangora's work. What's more, if you were that determined to win the Ultimate Cookbook, I seriously doubt you would have passed up on a chance to take a peek at your competitor's entries. I'd had plenty of chances throughout the contest to see and sample my rival's work, you know, but each time I did, nothing seemed to have any flavor. Oh, do you have that same condition that Tangora has? Must have been so I don't think your son had the condition, I think you have the condition. Nothing Mr. Gusto tasted had any flavor. That seems like it could be an important clue. What's the name of your son's condition? You're a real cold customer, Mr. Prosecutor. Isn't it enough that he was seriously ill? Why would you force me to tell you more? That was one of my clue. It wasn't life-threatening. You already shared with me that your son's illness wasn't life-threatening, so why are you so reluctant to share any further details? It may not have been life-threatening, but that doesn't mean it hadn't been life-altering. I see. That must have been very hard on both of you. Of course it was, that's why I did everything I could to find a cure. We were desperate. He couldn't taste anything, not even... So, do you both have the condition? Or are you just a proxy for him in this? He had a taste disorder. As I understand it, the Ultimate Cookbook contains the recipe for a very particular medication, one that Mr. Tangora used to cure himself of his own taste disorder. So he had it too. Two, you say? So your son had a taste disorder then, am I correct? How did I let that slip? You've been asking me to believe that you needed to win the cookbook in order to cure your son, but was that really the case? Of course it was. What are you saying? I'm saying that I'm not so sure that's true based on everything you told me. Now to blow my clue, you were sick yourself. Taste disorders are difficult to live with. It isn't easy not being able to enjoy your food. You should know, after all, you just told me you'd experienced something like that during the contest. You said that nothing you sampled had any flavor. Those were your words, correct? Which would seem to suggest that you were suffering from a taste disorder. A confectioner without a sense of taste. Not exactly ideal. Are you sure it wasn't actually your own condition you were seeking a cure for, Mr. Gusto? I've had enough of your speculations. I managed just fine in that contest and made all my own entries no problem. But weren't you working with Mr. Frost? Hey, sorry, but I'm afraid you're contradicting your own testimony. You already admitted that you and Mr. Frost had worked together during the contest. It's too late to claim that you did it all on your own. You would have us believe that you were a man of principle, a dedicated student of the confectioner's art, yet you abandoned those principles and conspired with Mr. Frost to rig the contest. Also, you could cure your own taste disorder. You got me, Mr. Prosecutor. As you said, my sense of taste was shot. My son's was fine. I'd kept it hidden for so long, 18 years, and nobody knew. Sadly, you can lie to others, but you can't lie to me. Both Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost entered the contest hoping to obtain the Ultimate Cookbook for the medicine that would cure Mr. Gusto's disorder and the money it would bring in for Mr. Frost. Thus, an uneasy alliance was forged, and that, I believe, is checkmate. Yay. My chess, checkmate. I'll admit it. You're good. I never told anybody of this, but you figured it all out anyway. It's true. 18 years ago, I developed agousia. What's that? It's a taste disorder that makes it so you can't taste anything at all. The confectioner's worst nightmare. Mr. Fender, is that what Mr. Tangora had as well? No, the big man had what they call a dissociated taste disorder. Basically, some things he could taste just fine, while others had no flavor at all. So he suffered too. Can't have been easy. Not when there wasn't a way to cure it in the market. Which is why you needed Mr. Tangora's cookbook. Do you admit now that it was the real reason you entered the contest? It was only one of the reasons. I wasn't lying when I said I wanted the title. When I put my mind to something, it gets done. I won't lose to anybody. may not have been able to taste it, but I still knew my stuff was good enough to win. So you went into the finals thinking you stood a chance of winning. Of course. What was it that Fender said about Mr. Tangor's thought of his creations? Perfect balance of flavor and design, at least up through the semi-final, but disappointingly, his entry for the final was subpar on both counts. We were told that your entry for the final was far from prize-winning taste sensation you described. What happened, Mr. Gusto? What went wrong that day? Fine. You want me to talk, I'll talk. But you're not going to like what I have to say. We'll find out what he has to say next time. Bye-bye.